know the rules, ustedes conocen las reglas, obey my command all the time, obedecan todos los comandos que le dé, protect yourself all the time. Protéjanse todo el tiempo. Toquen guantes, toquen guantes.
Melba Santos, the third individual in the ring as we get going for our opening bout on Before the Bell. 8 rounds, welterweight, women's boxing, 2-minute rounds. It'll be Steph Pineiro, who you see on the left of your screen in the orange and white fight kit, against Kalindra Faria, who had a little over a day, really, to get here on notice and fill in for the late opponent switch, as you see the size difference right away, Sergio.
Yeah, this shouldn't last too long. I mean, Faria has a MMA background, so she's going to be tough. But as far as boxing goes, I think Pineiro, as soon as she lands a good shot, I want to see how Faria responds, because that punch resistance isn't the same from MMA to boxing.
And a quick knockdown right there. And I'll tell you what, I mean, Faria took this fight on short notice. She weighed in yesterday under the super lightweight limit, and she's still giving up 7 pounds here to Pineiro. So for Pineiro, it was, with Suarez bowing out so late, it was either face Faria here or have no fight tonight.
No, look, you got to credit Faria for taking this fight and saving the show, so hopefully she's well compensated, because right now she's having a hard time adjusting to the size and the southpaw angle of Pineiro and that reach, that distance. And Pineiro does have pop behind that left hand, like we saw there.
Pineiro trying to improve to 8-0.
It'll serve Faria right if she could punch with Pineiro. You know, you got to just throw caution to the wind and punch with her, even though that's going to expose you to get hit with something big. But when you're dealing with a taller fighter that's coming at you this aggressively, you just got to punch with them. Just like that, in between the shots.
Try and do whatever you can to stave off the aggression here on the outset.
See, what you do whenever you're being out-punched like that, and you're not really a boxer, like we said, she's an MMA background. You got to punch in between the shots, and don't throw punch for punch with the better puncher in Pineiro. You know, she's a combination. She's a volume puncher. So you're just going to try to intercept in between, and just like that, and try to get some body shots with some respect.
Faria clocked her with a left hand moments ago, and another as the knee stumble for Faria.
Yeah, big left hook right on the temple that shook her legs.
Taking a look at some of the action from the first round, and right away, Pineiro showing how much of a disadvantage here that Faria is at against the former Puerto Rican national team member.
Yeah, Pineiro almost landed a clean body shot right there that I'm sure Faria wouldn't have liked, but it just barely missed. But this is a game of inches, so I expect a lot more punches to land in the second round, Justin, and I don't expect Faria, if she gets hit solid, to make it through this round, personally.
Start of round 2. As Pineiro's trying to win her second straight fight on a Matchroom card. We talked about that left hand. That was on display beautifully in that fight in June.
No, it really was. I mean, she's tall, she's long, she's strong, but a good body puncher. See, I love when tall fighters, you know, go to the body, and especially early. Young fighters that are tall usually like to keep that range, fight behind that long jab, and they ignore the body. But that's what I like about Pineiro. She bends down, bends her knees, and goes downstairs responsibly.
She's ranked as the #1 challenger for the WBA. We know Lauren Price, the current champ, ranked as the #1 challenger at the IBF as well, rated 3rd by the WBO, but she's yet to fight off Puerto Rico, off the island of Puerto Rico. So she knows that there is an emphasis here to impress despite the level of opponent that was put in front of her here so late.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, at this point of your career, you know, you're going to be facing fighters that don't have winning records, but normally we don't face MMA fighters, you know, from that background. Sometimes they can be difficult, Justin. I fought an MMA fight. It's one of my toughest fights. because they're accustomed to fighting with small gloves, so they could take a big punch. They're not that skilled, they're not that polished, but they do bring toughness.
And Faria trying to hang in here in the corner. Pineiro just tagging away for the second straight round, putting her in the corner.
I like the way Faria took that punch. And you can see by the way she just moves away. She doesn't know what to do with her footwork because she squares up and she moves laterally the wrong way because she's not accustomed to being on her feet like this in a boxing ring. You know, in the MMA world, it's mostly, you know, the stand-up is very flat-footed, and then you go to the ground. In boxing, you're moving laterally, backwards, and you can't be doing that. You can't be turning your back.
Faria was in the UFC for parts of 3 years, from 2017 to 2020. So she's going to be tough to put away.
Well, she got past the second round, so I'm impressed already. We see a nice little uppercut by Faria, but a lot more punches by Pineiro. I like the fluid combinations that she throws. I mean, she doesn't load up, Stephanie Pineiro. She doesn't fall off balance, and she keeps her range, uses her height, and nice counter punches. See that? Look, that's what I mean by being responsible, Justin. Like, she bends her knees and doesn't stay at the same level of height to get countered by a big shot. So a responsible, tall, aggressive fighter in Stephanie Pineiro.
Pineiro coming in at 7-0, 2 knockouts, and she told us earlier this week that while the record doesn't suggest it, she thinks she carries a lot of good power in her hands.
Every fighter thinks and says that, Justin, but in women's boxing, it's very tough to get knockouts, one. And two, if she is going to get this knockout, I think it's going to be when she invests the body, which she's been doing. And I like that she's been doing that so early, but I don't like that Faria has been responding every time she does get hit downstairs.
Faria, like we mentioned, trains in MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. She said boxing's still new to her, but it's exciting.
As long as it doesn't get too painful for her. But right now, you know, she's showing her toughness, showing grit, and we have to give her credit for being the short notice opponent against a tall, strong, determined fighter in Pineiro. So she already passed my test, I'll be honest with you, Justin, because I didn't expect this fight to last too long.
Especially after the first knockdown in the first round.
Not only that,
like she wasn't long for this.
Not only that, but you know, her lack of footwork, lack of speed, the technique is off. So right now she's just relying on instinct and toughness. So you got to give credit to her.
This is her 5th pro fight as a boxer. And she's competed in 4 different weight classes in those 5 fights.
Yeah, that's just a natural fighter. You can't teach that. You know, that's just character in a fighter. The fact that you're willing to fight anyone, anytime, at any weight class. I mean, normally you're supposed to be responsible, but you know, just born fighters like that, you gotta applaud.
Her debut last summer was at super bantamweight. Then she had 2 fights at featherweight, 1 at super lightweight, and now here at 147 pounds. And she is still in there against Stephanie Pineiro through 3.
There's Pineiro giving up her height, you know, trying to get a little bit over aggressive, which can fall in the hands of the shorter fighter. And Faria has the right idea. She's now trying to punch in between the shots, but she just doesn't have velocity. She doesn't have explosiveness, you know, compared to Pineiro's punches. And that's what I don't like. Whenever she does turn her back, you know, you can't do that in boxing. You can even get disqualified by turning your back, but that's a natural instinct for her. Because in the MMA world, you are allowed to turn your back and you know, be vulnerable to a chokehold, but you are able to give your back like that.
Beginning of the fourth round. This one's scheduled for 8 between Pineiro and Faria. Steph Pineiro in the orange and white kit. The Puerto Rican native, 34 years of age. You see the size difference. And even if she was in the ring with a fellow natural welterweight, the size difference probably would have gone in favor of Pineiro. She's a tall southpaw here.
There she is, and now she's not a southpaw, turning to the orthodox stance. I like seeing that. Whenever fighters get too comfortable, you know, they like to give their opponents a different look. You know, but in women's boxing, you don't see much of it, but the confidence is there with Pineiro doing both. And now going back to the left-handed stance. You know, I would like to see her jab a little bit more, you know, to not only to get Faria to commit to something, but to set up the big left hand.
Oh, she rocked her with a right hook.
Big right hook. Faria took that well. I'd like to see a left uppercut behind that right hook now, because Faria's falling over now because the balance is going off and the legs are wearing. So now look for right hook and uppercuts coming from the southpaw and Pineiro. There's one right there, but to the body.
Pineiro trying to size her up as, again, they go to the corner. That's where she's done the brunt of her work in the early half of this fight. Big swing and a miss by Faria.
See right there, a jab could be, you know, implemented to stop the movement. And she's squared up. Faria squared up. You can throw that jab to the chest or to the belly to get her stop moving left or right. And considering that Faria is not really a lateral mover, they can actually do damage with just a simple jab to the chest.
Through 4 rounds, Pineiro trying to do as much damage as possible with an unfamiliar opponent in front of her in Kalindra Faria.
And you see Pineiro just missing with that right hand. There's what I'm talking about right there, Justin. Faria actually landed a good shot, you know, trying to time the bigger, stronger Pineiro, but it's too far in between. We know that Pineiro's in charge of this fight, but she does give up her height. That's when Faria needs to take advantage of this. I'll say it again. I'm impressed with the toughness of Faria and her fighting spirit that she's still in this fight, trying to land some punches and trying to find an opening.
And we got a second look on that replay when Pineiro nailed Faria with that right hook that rocked her back. It was Pineiro's eyes who widened because she saw that she damaged her a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that she didn't put her down, and Faria came back with shots of her own. So I would think that she got the respect of Pineiro already also.
Start around 5. Faria sneaking in a straight right hand. Again, Kalindra Faria, 2-2. She has been stopped before in her short boxing career. 38 years of age, out of Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah, no, and the 2 wins that she does have are you know, against winless opponents. She's fought winless opponents before, so she hasn't fought the best. So the resume is, of course, on the Pineiro side. But the toughness, I mean, both fighters are showing their toughness, but especially, you know, the fighter that just came on short notice in Faria.
Pineiro telling Faria to stand toe-to-toe with her in the middle of the ring.
And now it's
There's
Faria.
no reason for Faria to abide by that, that's
no
for
way.
sure.
And now it's Faria turning southpaw, trying to give Pineiro a different look.
What's the frustrating part about this if you're Pineiro here?
Well, the fact that you're in there with a fighter that you didn't prepare for. It's a short notice opponent, so you didn't prepare for her style because you didn't know what her style is. Those big left hands right there.
And now she's peppering a stationary Faria. Melva Santos with a close eye. And again, it's going to take a lot to hurt Faria and put her out, but...
Yeah, she's tough. She's a tough fighter. And she's still trying to loop her shots, trying to land a big shot on the taller opponent. You know, whenever you got tall opponents like that get it responsible and just walk in, look, like that right there. That punch would have landed if Faria threw it with intention. You know, so she has the right idea. She just doesn't have the speed and the explosiveness to land it on Pineiro.
1-2 combo from Pineiro.
There it is again right there, Justin.
Trying to go for the big shot. as Faria exhales as she goes back to her corner, the red corner here. That's her partner and coach, Christian Noguera. Again, taking this fight probably around 72 hours notice or so. Maybe shorter. We were through the press conference. And they made the opponent switch.
Good uppercuts right there. That's what I've been wanting to see. More uppercuts from the taller opponent, but doing it responsibly, bending your knees, making yourself smaller, because if you're the taller fighter going for body shots, it's going to make you vulnerable to the shorter fighter. And if you're going to throw those uppercuts, you got to make sure you do it responsibly and tighten up your defense, making yourself smaller.
Stephanie Pineiro entered fight week thinking that she was needing to earn a win over what would have been her most accomplished opponent to date in Ogolita Suarez. Instead, she's really fighting a huge question mark in front of her in Kalindra Faria, not knowing the style. And we've obviously seen the volume punching and the damage inflicted by Pineiro, but this is a tough Faria. And a right and a left both connect there against the Brazilian.
And going to the sixth round, you would think that the legs would start wearing on Faria since she wasn't prepared for this fight. She comes from the MMA world, but her legs are still under her. She has a nice strength in it. You know, I don't see her wobbling or falling off balance. So again, we got to give credit. I'm giving credit to Kalindra Faria for being in this fight and getting her respect. You know, she's landed some licks in there too as well. Still trying to land shots like that.
Again, Pineiro saying that she knows she needs to impress here tonight. She's high on the rankings, but this is only her 7th pro fight. She hasn't fought off the island yet. Just to push the envelope a little bit.
This is when Pineiro should jump on Faria. She's not a natural southpaw, but look, she's giving you that southpaw look. So why don't you attack her when she's not on a familiar stance? You know, my trainer always tells me, if you're fighting an orthodox fighter and they switch to the left-handed, that's not their natural stance, so that's when you attack.
Quality combo from Faria, probably her best sequence of this match so far.
Absolutely, because she's punching over the top now. And you can see that Pineiro's a little bit frustrated. She's looking for ways in to hurt, you know, Faria, but she just can't find one. Even though she landed something big there, Faria took it well.
Straight left laces Faria, and a quality combo from Pineiro. Now she has her in the corner. And there's that uppercut, Sergio.
2 uppercuts, and you can see that Faria didn't like those shots. Right, look at how it reddened and bloodied the eye already. And those are those looping shots by the shorter fighter that I'm talking about, you know, but they're too far in between. And at the end of this round, it was all Stephanie Pineiro with those big shots, a big left hand, getting extension behind those wide shoulders, but it was this that actually did the damage right here. Nice shot right there by Faria, but the uppercuts that were busting up the eye of Faria right here towards the end of the round.
I think that left hand caught Pineiro's attention, and she kicked it into second gear in the second half of that round. Seventh round of this 8-round scheduled match at welterweight. Our opening bout of the night here on Before the Bell, all leading into the main card coming up at 8 local, 7 Eastern. Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchins battling for the IBF Super Lightweight title here in San Juan. Getting a little lively here. We got the band entering the building, Sergio.
Oh, let the music begin.
Yes.
Can you salsa, Justin?
You know, I never tried, so I don't know.
There you go. Maybe you could try tonight.
Hey, there you go. Pineiro coming forward.
Good step back there by Pineiro. I love seeing that. Even though she's a flat-footed, you know, come-forward fighter, right there she showed a little agility stepping back to counter, you know, Faria. I love seeing that. I mean, she has dimensions. Stephanie Pineiro has dimensions to her game, and you can see that she was a polished amateur.
Member of the Puerto Rican national team. Entering tonight, she had lost exactly 1 round in her 7 previous fights as a pro.
See right here, the taller fighter should be jabbing, you know, poking at that eye, busting her up from the outside, because right now it's Faria that's trying to move laterally and try to, you know, use the time. You don't want to allow her to get her conditioning back and use that clock. You just want to keep popping her with that jab and popping that busted eye.
Another beautiful left hand landing moments ago from Pineiro. The straight left present throughout these fights for Pineiro that we've seen this year.
You know, that jab, you know, it could do a lot of damage, especially when you're as tall and rangy and have those wide shoulders. But the thing about Pineiro, she's a volume puncher. She likes doing this on the inside.
Faria nearly going to a knee, but is able to retreat. She's on the run.
Oh, no, she's running away now. She can't be doing that. The referee will either stop this fight if she keeps turning her back like that. So they should tell her that in the corner. Do not turn your back anymore.
Certain points of this fight, especially in the beginning, as you see the referee Melva Santos going into Faria's corner, it just felt like it was Faria in survival mode, trying to stay in this match as much as possible. And her face is beaten up, but now she's 1 round away from going the distance again in an 8-round fight on short notice.
Oh, man, I'm going to give her more credit than that, Justin. I don't think it's survival mode. I think she doesn't know how to adjust to the boxing movement. She's not, she comes from a different style. I just know she doesn't know how to move laterally like that. That's her only way. But she can fight, man, and she has a fighting spirit. We got to give Kalindra Faria some credit here, a lot of credit.
8th and final round of our opening bout. Pineiro and Faria. And Pineiro coming out super aggressive in the 8th and final round.
And you can even see it in the corner of Faria. Her trainer's getting up like they're winning the fight. They're just excited to be in this fight. The fact that they're being competitive and showing spirit. And that's why I'm saying, you know, we got to respect Faria for what she's doing here against a solid, undefeated, you know, fighter in Pineiro.
Also a natural welterweight in Pineiro.
And naturally bigger and stronger as well. So all the credit in the world for this late replacement. And the damage she's taking. I mean, look at her face. Look at her eyes. You know, the blood. You know, all that stuff wears on a fighter, especially when you weren't prepared to fight against an opponent. And look, shots like that.
Quality uppercut from Pineiro.
Quality uppercut by Pineiro, but Faria came right back with a hook of her own.
And we say all this about Faria, and I'd be hard-pressed to give a round to the Brazilian. So Pineiro obviously doing a great job on her way to potentially pitching a shutout here to open up before the bell.
No, she hasn't won a round, but she just held her own. You know, she's losing these rounds. Held her own. She should keep her head up, her chin in the air, because she came and she's doing what she can.
Look, she didn't have these weekend plans on Monday.
No, she did not. And here she is in front of this, you know, this monster in front of her. Coming right at her like Frankenstein, nonstop. Good body shot there by Pineiro. Pineiro's a really good body puncher for a very tall southpaw fighter.
Final 25 seconds. Another straight left landing on Faria. Pineiro trying to finish off this target practice and improve to 8-0. Faria has proven to be the personification of a fighter.
Yes, sir.
Coming in here to Puerto Rico on short notice. She goes the distance. And look at her.
You got to give credit to her, man. Everybody needs to give credit to Kalindra Faria for what she did as a short notice replacement against a beast in Stephanie Pineiro. But she lasted the distance. Moral victory. She should be excited. And I think her trainer realizes that. And that's the reason that they were excited. You know, there's moral victory there.
Her trainer, her partner, Christian Noguera, in the newsboy hat in the red corner. But we'd be remiss if we obviously didn't shed light on the performance from Steph Pineiro here, going up against a really tough opponent. And she's also in this position, this stage in her career, where victories need to come with statements. And you know, she just soundly beat up her opponent who was in front of her.
Look at that face. That's a statement to me, Justin.
So this one goes the distance despite the first round knockdown by Pineiro. And I said it earlier, Sergio, Pinheiro's a fighter in her pro career who would have lost exactly one round. I think that will remain true after we get the official judges' scorecards here.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of action here in San Juan, we go to the judges' scorecards. They all read the same, 80-71 for your winner by unanimous decision, La Medicina, Stephanie Pineiro.
So La Medicina improves to 8-0. Doesn't get the third knockout, but she is 8-0, and she opens up the show. Here on Before the Bell. So Pineiro, in her second fight since signing with Matchroom, gets the victory. And there's Kalindra Faria. Hats off to her. Again, taking this fight on short notice, coming into town on Friday. And